Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
just in time. And we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Welcome everybody around the country and around the world. We are here today to help you with some financial personal management issues, and we hope you been joining us. This is our 179th show. The show today will be to 2024 year in review. We're going to review the whole year. You all the things we talked about. A lot has happened. Last week we talked about rebalancing your investment portfolio. We hope you tuned in. If you didn't, you can always go back on Facebook Live and catch some of our archive show. We only go back a year. They only store a year from this date back. And you can go out on YouTube and go and look at some of our past shows. Also, we hope that you go out there and share on Facebook Live and on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Just want to give a little disclaimer here that we're not financial advisors. We are financial educators, and we just, when we talk about certain stocks, portfolios, and things like that, we're talking about only our personal. What we do, everybody has a different portfolio, or a different investment temperament, but we try to just let you know what we have done, and if you can learn something from that, good. But we just want to let you know that we are not registered, licensed advisor. And by the way, by the way, we're not selling anything. We're just trying to provide information and in hopes that we help our people increase their wealth. That's our goal. So welcome everybody. Glad y'all tuning in. Dote, how you doing today?
I am just happy as can be. My kids will start coming in tomorrow. Also over the next few days, my 4 kids will be rolling in, and my grandkids, and just got back from the Virgin Islands. So life's good right now.
Good. Well, we'd like you to click on the like button and the heart button. That's how we get exposure to more people, how the algorithms work here on Facebook, that is. And then we like to make this interactive. So the way we can do that, we're in a virtual studio. Doty is in Charlotte. No, I always keep saying Charlotte.
I'm right outside of Charlotte. I'm in the suburbs of Charlotte.
In the suburbs of Charlotte. And I am in Bowie, Maryland, the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And we coming to you, but how we can make this interactive, use that comment box. And the comment box serves multiple purposes because you get way more traction if you put comments in the comment box. So much as you can, put any comments you have. But we hope if you put comments like you have an opinion on something we're talking about, or a question on something we talked about, put it in the comment box. Or if it's something that you heard recently that we can share with other people, put it in the comment box. And that's how we make this an interactive show. And we can interact with you if you put anything you have on your mind in the comment box. And we definitely like any ideas you have on future shows, or if you have any questions on particular issues or something that come up between this and the last show, put it in the comment box. And if it's applicable and appropriate for this show, we'll entertain it. And between me and Dote, we have a wealth of knowledge. But if we don't know, we know where to get the information from, and we can get back to you by the next show. But I guarantee you, most of the things we have a common knowledge on. So, yeah, hope y'all check that out. So, Dote, very interesting week with the stock market, man. To say the least, huh?
I wouldn't call it interesting. I would just say it sucked.
After we talked all that good stuff about the market, right?
Yeah, this was a terrible week in the market, and yeah, it was pretty rough. And if you look at the week, the big deal was yesterday when the Fed dropped interest rates by a quarter point, but they kind of indicated that they wouldn't be dropping as much as they thought they would in the future. And the market reacted violently. The Dow was down 1,100 points. yesterday, and I think that might have been the 10th straight loss in the Dow, and that's the most since like 1974, the most consecutive days of a loss. It actually had a small gain today, so that was positive. And there's some funny things going on tomorrow because a lot of options expire, and it's called the triple witching hour. So there's a lot of volatility out there, so we'll have to see how everything goes. But for the week, you can see the S&P was down 3%, NASDAQ, same, almost 3%. My Microsoft was down 3%, that same number. My Brady stayed flat, which is good. Apple actually went up a little bit, from 248 to 250. My HP took a drop, but I think that's temporary. I think that's going to end up doing okay. NVIDIA took a hit, and I think that's short term, and the reason was because I believe it was Amazon or someone else came out with another chip, but it's still not as good as the chip NVIDIA has. And so again, I think this is a short-term phenomena, and things will end up being okay. Google went down slightly at 4. It had been on a pretty good roll. My Pfizer's up 1, which is good. And the new stock I bought, I think it's called Palantir, it's up slightly too. So all in all, it was a rough week, but we always talk about volatility. We always say you have to be willing to accept it. And tomorrow is going to be very, very interesting with that triple witching hour phenomena. Right now, the Dow futures are flat, but things could really get crazy tomorrow. So we'll have to see how it goes.
What is the bewitching hour, though?
That's when options expire and a couple of other things happen in the market. It's like, I think it's 3 different things. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but we'll know. We'll know early if things go crazy tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
And just a general understanding for you all about options, it's just contracts to buy or sell stocks at a particular price, and they expire, and that can really, sway the market either way, because people are buying and selling with these contracts. So that's what could actually, when they start talking about options. Gold was it's pretty interesting. The gold was down there for a bit, but it came back, a little bit today. But it went down too when the market did. That's usually not the deal. It's usually an adverse effect. So that's kind of interesting. So let's talk about cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin was up over 100,000 last week. Went up even higher, like 102. It's down today as of 6:30 p.m. at 97,000. It dropped 2,184. That's, believe it or not, that's just a 2% drop, which is not too bad. But it's at 97,838 for the Bitcoin. Now, if you look at Ethereum, which is smart contracts, they down 11%. That dropped about 446. Tether, which is tied to the dollar, is down 1%. And Dogecoin, Elon Musk, and they're calling him President Musk these days, the way he's controlling things. The Dogecoin is down 20%. So the cryptocurrency market has been taking a beating too. So, like we say, it's all about the long play. But though, let's talk about today's show, which is a very interesting show, you all. We got an interesting twist on today's show where we're talking about the year in review, and like a lot happened. A lot has happened though in 2024.
Oh, well, but before I just to verify what we were talking about before, triple witching hour. I just looked it up just to be exact. It's a day when stock options, stock index futures, and stock index stock index options all fall on the same day. It only happens 4 times a year, the third Friday of March, June, September, December, which can create a spike in trading volume and volatility. So it's more related to the derivative markets, options, and
futures.
Yeah. So those three things happen on the same day. That's why it's called triple witching hour.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's get into our day. And what we're talking about today is our total market review and how the year went and things of that sort. And for me personally, I had an excellent year. And I don't say that like I did anything anybody else didn't do, but if you were invested in the market and took some risks, you probably did very, very well. Bob, can you show the market update, please?
Sure can.
Let's hop over to those that last column. Look at the percent change. The S&P's up 24%. NASDAQ's up 29. Okay. You can see Microsoft 16, Brady 23. Now, I didn't own Brady all year, so that number's really meaningless. Apple I had all year, 30%. HP I just bought. That's only up 7%. Doesn't matter. My big winner was NVIDIA, obviously. Google did okay. It's up 35%. My Pfizer, that's my only loser. That's the one I sold, and I actually did a little better than that 13% loss because I sold at 30 and got back in at 24. So I'm actually doing better on there. And that Palantir, I didn't do that well on that because I just bought that one, but I bought it at 70 and already it's up to 74. So I did okay. And so those are the stocks I have in my, let's call it my play money account that I play with. And if I look at what my professionally managed account did, it's up 13%. That's the bulk of my money that's managed by Fidelity. And that's a little short of where it should be because theoretically I have about a 65 to 70% risk tolerance. So theoretically I should do about 65, 70% of whatever the S&P does. So that would be around 16%. So I'm a little short on there. So I obviously we'll discuss that with my advisors. Now, in my play money account, which is these stocks that you see listed here, I did it a whole lot better. I'm up 32% for the year, which, and again, these are all very risky. It's probably even over the 0 to 10 tolerance risk. I'm probably way more risky than I should be, but I can do that because I got the other money that I'm kind of banking on, and that's really the bulk of my money. But I had a really good year, and you look at Bitcoin. My Bitcoin for the year is up 220%. The gold stock fund I bought back in April, excuse me, it was up as high as 20% earlier in November, but it's kind of tapered off. It's only excuse me, only up 8%, which again, I'm very satisfied with that. And the key is we always talk about being diversified. So I have a bunch of little monies all over the place. And again, most people who are invested in the market did pretty well this year. And so again, I don't think I did anything special or I'm any smarter than anybody else. And as far as lessons to be learned or things I would do different is still working on getting my estate plan in shape. That's something that I got to get ironed out. And I'm to the point now where I've kind of done better than I ever thought I would do in my life. And I'm actually looking for some tax planning to handle some of the big gains I'm sitting on and looking for some ways to kind of mitigate the fact that I'll have to start taking those required minimum distributions when I turn 73 in about 3 years. And so those are things I got to get my arms around and do better on. I probably could do a little better budgeting, but when you retire and kind of just living the life, it's kind of hard to do that, which is okay because I don't go into my savings. I pretty much just spend most of what I have. So that's something I probably could get my arms around a little bit better, but it's really not that important. And if I look at things that I did that I'm glad I did, I stayed on top of my portfolio. I looked at. I'm glad I got out of Pfizer when I did and got back in, which was a good move to make. Got out at 30, got back in at 25, and again that pays a 7% dividend. I made not an emotional decision, but a moral decision to get out of Amazon and Tesla, and both of them are doing really, really quite well. But again, I have my personal reasons for doing that. And I'm glad I did that. Did some tax harvesting. I took a little bit of gain. I started off with 1,000 shares of NVIDIA. I sold a couple of 100 shares of that and offset that a little bit with that Pfizer loss, but had a lot more gain than I had lost. Pfizer was really my only loser. And so I'm glad I diversified into the gold. That was a good move to make. I'll be looking to do more of that next year. And so all in all, my year-end review, I'm pretty happy with how the year went. I kind of stick to the things that we talk about in our show, which is what I know. I've continued to try to educate myself and realize how much I don't know, and continue to read, talk to people, and try to get more knowledge. An area I think I have to really jump on this year coming up is the tax code, because of the situation I'll be in with the RMDs coming due. Between I got a couple of pensions from PPG and Social Security, so my earnings will be such that I need to do some things to try to mitigate the tax effect of that. So all in all, pretty good year, and things I can do better, but there's also some things I did good, and I made some money this year, and I'm happy about that.
Well, before I begin, I was saying preparing for 2025 New Year is not too soon. Starting financial planning for 2025 now is a fantastic move. Now, the earlier you begin, the more opportunities you will have to build wealth, minimize taxes, and minimize, stress, and ensure your financial goals are achievable. So, the time is now to take action, you all. And just if you even invested in a high yield savings account this year, it didn't do any of the stock market stuff to me, though you would be ahead by 5%. So if you put in $1,000, that's $50. You put 10,000, that would have been $500. So it's a good time now, y'all, to start planning. Though my portfolio performance for the year, and as we always tell y'all, I'm more conservative than Dope, but yet I do take risks. I just don't take as much risk as Dope do, because if you're in the stock market, you're going to be taking risks. And, of the 10 odd stocks that I have, only 3 didn't do well. That was Ford and the cannabis company in Canada. And the reason why I invested in that, because the DEA lowered the risk level on cannabis or marijuana from a level 1, which was up there with heroin and opioids. It's now a 3. And President Biden is supposed to be signing a bill where the Bank Secrecy Act, where I don't know if anybody know, but marijuana companies cannot put money in a federally insured bank by the FDIC. And he's getting ready to sign to allow them to do that. And that stock might take off. But like Doe said, my goal is up 26%. GE stock that I had is up year to date 62%. NVIDIA, as Doe said, is up 162%. Apple, like Doe said, Apple is up 30%. And my semiconductor stock, which is the competitor to NVIDIA, NXP, which I've had since 2016, it was down year to date by 10%. But from the years that I have it to now, it's up 65%, though. So that's not bad. And I had a 529 plan. I started investing $100 a month, and then me and Tiffany increased it, to when Melody was born. She was born, though, 2020. 2003. As of 2024, we had put $68,000 in it, and it grew to 121,000. That's an 80% return, though, just on the 529, and that's, y'all know about fact 529. That's tax-free state, right? State, federal, state, tax-free. So did pretty good too. Didn't do as good as dope, but I did better than the average bear because I took some risk. And that's what we always talk about. So dope, my lessons learned, things that I would do different. I bought a couple of stocks based on people that are in the industry that I know.
I know you didn't. Please tell me you didn't.
I did. I didn't put that much into them. Like for one, the cannabis stock, because they told me I knew about that, and I did buy this infrastructure stock for superchargers that were going to be built. Remember, Biden put $10 billion in the infrastructure bill for superchargers to be built for EVs, and it hasn't taken off, but it's not too late. That's the only one that didn't do well. But I listened to these people. These are people in the industry, and I actually went on a couple of their tips. And
are they rich?
Yeah, they are. That's why
only take advice from rich people.
Oh, you know what? That's the worst thing you do. Take advice. I told you. I remember I was in school. This guy's always trying to tell me how to get A's. He got D's all the time. These people are rich, and they're in the industry, though, and they doing things for these major financial institutions. So that's what I would think. Now, things I'm glad I did do was invest, like what we always said, though, consistently and steadily in the 529 plan. And I did it in the market too, but I definitely did it in the 529 plan from 2003 to today, and it definitely paid off considerably. And the other thing I'm glad I did, though, was this show, because not only in providing people, alternatives and information, we too, dope, me and you, we learn from this too ourselves.
Big time.
Big time. Some of the stuff we go and research and we pull, and I just want to give the disclaimer again. We use a lot of information from Kiplinger, Fidelity, Vanguard, Investopedia. And so
anywhere we find good information.
Anywhere we can find good, reliable information, that's what we've been doing. And I'm so glad that, Dope, this was your brainchild, that you talked me into doing it. And this is our 179th show, which I'm so glad that we've done it. So, Dope, for a minute, people tend to always ask me this question, and they think it's synonymous: being rich and being wealthy. Is there a difference?
Is that Chris Rock joke that talked about Oprah and Bill Gates, and it said, if Bill Gates woke up and only had Oprah money, he'd kill himself.
That's messed up.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of times they are used interchangeably. But if you take a closer look at it, and their definitions aren't the same, but if you take a closer look at it, rich people tend to focus more on maintaining a certain lavish lifestyle, while wealthy people who have more money, and their money typically will last them decades, if not generations, because of savvy investments that they make, and they prioritize assets that appreciate in value, which is really the key. If you can really focus on just acquiring appreciating assets and minimize assets that depreciate, you'll be thinking just like someone who is wealthy.
And that's we can't say it enough, though, about really it's a mindset, right? We've talked for 2.5 years. Actually, it's going on 3 years, though. And like I said at the top of this show, just if you just did the most safest place of putting your money in a high yield savings account in an FDIC insured bank, you would have made 5%, where most traditional accounts are making less than 1%. But a lot of time, though, the reason why people make the decisions they do is really based on their values, their mindset, what's important to them. But Henry Ford say, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you're right. So the money is not the problem. It's our mindset. When we make a decision, we think, emphasize on think, that we are being logical and rational, but it's often subconscious mind that takes charge. We are shaped by our attitudes, beliefs, values, and experiences that accumulate throughout our lives. And every one of those are non-absolutes. Perceptions, opinions, and beliefs, they're non-absolute. But subconscious programming, which is what drives our emotions and is responsible, as they say, for 90% or more of the decisions that we make every day. Notice what I said. Our emotions are driving our decisions. Now, money is often an incredible emotional topic. We know that. And when you dive deeper, we find out that a lot of this is coded from, our parents, and a lot of it is some unhealthy thoughts that into the way we think about things. Money frequently being at the top of the list, because this even just the thought of money can trigger emotional responses to most people. Therefore, though, it's not surprising that the number one cause of stress in America is what? Money.
Oh, no question.
Or
lack thereof.
The decisions that we are driven by start way back when we were so young as 7 years old, though. So it's no wonder we experience, feelings of shame, guilt, disappointment, embarrassment, even resentment. And the list goes on. The psychology of money study, shows how we think and feel. It drives our behaviors, and we constantly make some emotional decisions that gets us trapped into debt and deeper debt. And it's misleading link between the decisions we want to make with money and the actions we actually take. Now, the good news, though, there's good news, is that if we are open to exploring our money mindset, our, what drives us, our values, what's important to us, we can change the subconscious programming and take proactive steps to develop healthier financial beliefs, behaviors, and patterns. Now, if you want to master that role that money plays in your life, start by mastering your mindset. Get rid of some of those old beliefs that money is the root of all evil and all of these kind of things. And banks not safe. It's all of these things that subconsciously make us make the decisions we do that usually lead to bad money management.
Yeah, let's talk for a minute. What does it mean to be rich? I don't know who remembers the song by Calloway, I Want to Be Rich. Remember that, Bob?
I want to be rich, that one.
There you go. And remember shows like Lifestyles or The Rich and Famous, or even the Real Housewives series. They epitomize what it means to be rich. Living large, plenty of cash to throw around on luxury goods. And you look at more, social media influences, wearing the Rolexes, on luxury yachts, riding around in Lamborghinis. We always think of them as being rich, and that's always what people aspire to be rich. But if you look at what the average person thinks, they think a rich person's home costs around $2 million, and that same survey believe rich Americans typically do hobbies like flying on private jets, racing cars, and sailing. But a lot of rich people squander their income on assets that depreciate in value, and a lot of them end up broke, believe it or not. It happens a lot with athletes who are rich for a moment, but what was Pat Ewing's line? We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money too. So a lot of times, a lot of those guys end up broke because they're trying to maintain that lifestyle and look like they're rich. And a lot of those people have negative net worth because they're going into debt to keep that look up. And if one of the quotes one of the thoughts by Dave Ramsey, that personal finance celebrity, he says, in the United States, cars are a status symbol, which is really crazy when you think about it. And the fact that some people stretch their budget to keep a car that they can't afford, that's the epitome of financial mismanagement. That's you're mismanaging your money. If you're paying for a car, that's a real big part of your income. Makes no sense, because the moment you buy that car, it depreciates, and it depreciates every day that you own it. Okay, so a lot of times earning a high income can make you appear to be rich, but the idea of how, what a high income, that varies depending on who you talk to. If you talk to a Gen Zer, they think somebody's rich who owns only $400,000. But if you talk to a baby boomer, somebody our age, we think it's at least $1 million is what you need to be rich. So a lot of it is trying to live that lifestyle. And if you really sit back and take a look at it, it really makes no sense to try to appear to be rich. But that's what a lot of folks do.
That's an interesting contrast, though. Rich versus wealthy. And I know there's a lot of wealthy people, man. They barely have a watch that's close to $300. They don't even have a suit that's over $300. But all these other people going around keeping up with the Joneses. But what does it really mean to be wealthy? And being wealthy is a lasting financial security. Like Warren Buffett, who is the prime example of someone who's wealthy, they call him the Oracle of Omaha, right? Being there many times over, yet famously lives in the same home he bought for $31,000, though. He still lives in it, and is well known for, still driving the used car and enjoying $4 McDonald's breakfasts. Now, wealthy people know that earning a good income doesn't improve your financial situation over the long term. When I was doing financial planning, though, and financial advising as a licensed advisor, I was running across a lot of doctors and attorneys who were making big money, but they were totally spending they were making like $600,000 a year. This one doctor, and he was spending $500,000. Now, unless you use that income to buy assets that grow your net worth, it's senseless. Rather than spending what they have on luxury goods, wealthy people put their money to work for them, so it makes them even more money in the long term. That's why we talked about the difference between money compensation and passive income. Compensation is something you work for. You earn the money you work for. Passive income is when money's working for you and you don't have to do something. That's why we lean towards the stock market and other financial instruments to work for us. So you're not just putting all your sweat and tear into, working a job. Have your money work for you. Now, wealthy people don't focus on making themselves rich to others, and they tend to blend in with the middle income Americans to the point where you can't tell them much apart, or actually what they have.
Yeah, and it's just better. It's just common sense. It makes all the sense in the world to strive for being wealthy. If you're setting your financial goals, you aim for building wealth as opposed to becoming rich. But when you're young, especially my generation, we had no knowledge of what wealthy meant. That was a concept that we couldn't relate to. We always talked about being rich. And in our minds, being rich means you have a lot of things. But
stuff.
A lot of stuff. Junk is really what it is. But you get on and you learn. And you don't really have to be rich to become wealthy. Plenty of people who don't earn a six-figure income or inherit a whole bunch of money can achieve financial independence just by saving and investing diligently throughout their lifetime. Saving consistently and constantly. If your money isn't being put to work while you sleep, it's losing value. There's nothing better than waking up and you got more money than you had the day before. And that's the case with a lot of the investments I own. And that's why it's essential to leverage the power of compounding as soon as you can. Start saving as soon as you can, understanding that it's never too late to start.
Never too late.
Right. And if according to another survey, 80 to 86% of American millionaires are self-made. A lot of times we often think that, all the people who are rich, somebody gave them money. No, 80 to 86% of them are self-made. And of that total, about half of them started out with a net worth of zero. Okay. And so it's definitely doable, but a lot of it is how you approach it. And some basic common things that we've talked about before. You spend less than you earn, right? And invest the difference. You avoid debt every chance you can. You devote your money into investing in assets that appreciate. Building sustainable wealth is about managing your costs, saving money, and investing wisely. If you can put away 20% of your of your take-home pay, and any additional money that you make from a side hustle, you're gonna be way better off. That's how you build wealth. And so you start when you're young. That's the ideal situation. You set an emergency fund up, you maximize your retirement accounts as best you can in your job, you get rid of your high interest debt, you diversify, and if you can, you buy a home, try to own a home to take advantage of the tax situation that is very, very positive for investors, homeowners, and business owners.
And Doug, this is for the people. I mean, this weekend I was in Houston and a person was telling me, man, I wish I would have talked to you, Bob, when I retired 2 years ago. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. And for some of you people who are up there in age, we're living longer. And the name of the game is maximizing what you have. It's not how much you make, it's what you do, what you make. And most people, they spend and what they have left, they save instead of they save and what they have left, they spend. We have it backwards, but I just hope people will just try to take more action towards building wealth. And it's not as difficult as it may seem. It takes work. But Doe, I want to talk about the whole year, right? As each year go by, we talk about certain principles that are evident and essential to being able to build wealth and sustain, your lifestyle. And we call it the FITT Show principles. And there's a certain amount of principles, and we'll alternate, okay, Dope? And I'm going to take the first one. Do you have them in front of you? Or you want me to do them all?
You go ahead.
Okay, cool. So we just want to cover some of the FITT Show principles that this is what you do throughout the whole year. And the first thing is you define your financial goals. That's the first thing. Think about where you want to be financially by the end of 2025. Then break them down into smaller actionable steps and set milestone time frames. Basically, you do it by quarter and track your progress. So important because it's an old saying, if you don't have a rudder, if you don't map out your course, how can you really, get to where you're going? A lot of people don't even understand where they are, as opposed to even where they're trying to get. Because if me and Doe try to go to the same place, to New York, but he's going from Charlotte and I'm going from Bowie, that's going to be a different plan. And we always talk about everybody's plan is different and is special to them. Define your goals. The next one is you must understand your risk tolerance. And the biggest thing, they did a survey, Doe, on what is the biggest issue with people investing? And they're not patient. A lot of people not patient. They get nervous. Risk really stresses them out. And one of the things you must understand before you get involved in any financial instrument, because every financial instrument, I don't care if it's as low as a savings account, there's risk involved. It's just low risk. And then there's high risk. But the thing is, our saying is no risk it, no biscuit. The more risk you take, even if it's just a little bit above the savings account, money markets, the better chances you have where compound interest works to your advantage. But if you don't take no risk, and we've talked about this, a lot of times doing nothing is a risk. So understand your risk tolerance. The next thing we want to talk about is develop a budget. Now, we talk about everybody know, but no, everybody knows and understand the budget. We teach these HBCUs, budget, credit, investing, insurance, estate planning, but most of the tests they take, they do well on budget. It's interesting. Most people understand the concept of a budget, but they don't do it for some reason. But you need to consider reviewing your budget regularly and see if there are any areas where you can cut costs or redirect funds into savings and investment opportunities. And one of the other things you must have to plan within a budget is creating an emergency fund, because life is full of surprises and having a safety net can give you peace of mind. But we talk about, in another word for budget, it's just a spending plan. That's the biggest problem with people, just spending. And you need to think about ways, develop a budget where you can cut those costs. The next, you need to determine your investment strategy. This is important. This is another one of the principles of, the FITT Show. Determine, what's your risk tolerance, and then determine what investment instruments are best fits your financial plan. Is it CDs? Is it money market? Is it index funds? Is it individual stocks? Everyone is different, but once you develop an investment plan, you then determine the things that will help you reach those goals. That's why you have one. And then we talked about this all the time. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's why, so a lot of people don't understand stocks fully. It's important that you can get into mutual funds or index funds or ETFs, exchange traded funds, because they have a multitude of different stocks in there. And when one is doing bad, the other one's doing good, they manage it that way. That's why diversifying your portfolio is important. Now, last week we talked about rebalancing your portfolio, because some people might have 60% growth equities and 40% bonds. And if stocks take off and do well, your mix can change that now the equities or the growth stocks grew. Now your portfolio could be 70% equities and stocks and 30%. And you need to sometime, and if your goal was to stay 60-40, you need to rebalance your portfolio. We talked about that last week. That is so important that you stick with the risk tolerance, the plan that fits you. Next, big one, got to develop a tax strategy. Doug was talking about, tax harvesting. He was talking about, looking at RMDs. Those are all tax strategies. And when you retire, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest thing is that what are you doing? You're really doing tax planning. Tax-free, tax-deferred, all those different things is really what you're trying to manage when you are headed toward retirement or retirement. But you got to have a tax strategy. Next one is strategy to protect your wealth. And those are several things. That's estate planning, having a will, having a directive, having a living will, having a medical directive. Insurance, you got to have, your auto insurance. Do you have the right limits? Do you have the right deductibles? Life insurance, insurance, home owners insurance. Is that intact? Do you have too much? Do you have too little? Disability insurance. A lot of people tend to shy away from disability because they're doing okay, but anytime you can end up in that situation. The last thing on protecting your wealth is long-term care. Now, there's two ways to go about that. You can save money and use the money you save for long-term care, or you can get in long-term care. But most long-term care plans nowadays they last only 6 years, maybe 7 years, from when you actually have to execute them. So you have the time when you want to do it, because the sooner you get in, the cheaper it is. The longer you wait, the more it costs. Now, review and adjust. You got to review your budget. This is the key to your whole plan, everybody. Taxes, budgeting, risk, because these things do change, and you can't be afraid to change them to fit to profile of what you're trying to do, because these things always change. And you must always review your budget, your savings, your investment plans, and you should review them quarterly to make sure you stay on track. And the last one, though, focus on financial education. You talked about that earlier. This is important. The more you learn about personal finance, the more empowered you'll feel to make, what did I talk about earlier? Mindset that drives your decision, to make smart decisions.
Plus it changes so frequently that you have to stay on top of it.
Yeah, it's constant. Money is always changing. When you're asleep, money's moving.
Yeah. Okay. And for closing remarks, there's two things I want you to think about. I want you to remember. And the first is year end, December 31st. It's a very, very important date. You have to maximize your tax advantage accounts by the end of the year. Your 529 plans, money's got to be put in by the end of the year. If you're over 73, you have to take required minimum distributions. That has to be in by December 31st. If you're close to the threshold for itemizing, most people don't itemize, but if you're close, you might want to consider some things you can do. I mentioned before, like paying all your 2025 contributions to charitable organizations. You can pay it all in double up in 1 year, and maybe skip paying it to next year just to allow you to meet the threshold. You might be able to pay some of your taxes, your state and local taxes early. There's a few things you can do to kind of help your tax situation if you're close to being able to itemize. You have to look at where you are where you are on your investments. If you have any losses that you might be able to use to offset gains. I mean, you get up to $3,000 on losses, but if you have gains, that you can offset those gains up to the amount of your losses. So take a look at your situation and see if you need to do any tax harvesting by the end of the year. Again, that has to happen by December 31st. If you want to do a Roth conversion, again, that's another December 31st deadline. And don't get confused with IRA contributions, which you have up until the tax due date to make. A Roth conversion has to happen by December 31st. And if you're going to give any money in December 31st, that's another hard deadline. And those are dates that you're getting close. You got about 10 days to 11 days left to get these things done. Make sure you review all your things, your investment things, to make sure you don't mess up on any of these dates. And the other thing I've been reminding you about all year, and I want to continue to remind you about, is those holiday scams. Be on the lookout. These people are working real hard to steal your money, especially during the holidays when you might be less attentive to what's going on. Watch those non-delivery scams, those payment scams, those gift cards, and protect yourself. Don't click anything from anybody that you don't know, whether it's a text message, whether it's an email. If you don't know who it's coming from, just delete it, okay? Know who you're buying from. Don't go online buying from people that you aren't familiar with, thinking you're going to save a few bucks, because a lot of times it's probably a fraud if it's way cheaper than, say, Amazon or Target or Walmart or any of the other big boxes. So pay attention there. Watch how you pay, okay? Watch how you pay. Watch those gift cards. Pay attention to your Zelle, as far as so you don't make a mistake, and just be careful. And if you're shipping something, make sure you stay on top of it when you're expecting something, so you don't get those UPS. Are you expecting a package? Those kind of things. Stay on top of your money, because there are people who are working very, very hard to steal it. So those are the two things I want to leave you with today.
And I just want to end it with this. We're not doing a summary and takeaways, because this whole show was a summary and takeaways, right? So building financial security, it takes time, but progress is progress, no matter how small. Celebrate each win along the way, whether it's paying off a credit card, reaching a savings goal, or successfully sticking to your budget for a month. Keep your eyes on the long-term picture. Me and Dote always talk about the long play and know that consistent effort will pay off. Now, by planning ahead now, you can approach 2025 with a sense of control and purpose. Because financial freedom doesn't happen overnight, but every step you take, it brings you closer to your goals.
And Bob, if look at yourself, look at where you are, and did you accomplish your goals? If you did, figure out what you did good, what you can do better, so you aren't sitting here next year wishing you had done some things differently. So the clock starts over January 1. Everybody sets these New Year's resolutions. Do that with your wealth building. Try to make good decisions and try to put yourself in position. So, and I'm not talking about what the market does, because that's something that you don't control, as far as national disasters and political turmoil and whether they balance the budget or the government shuts down. You don't control any of that, but you can control some of the things Bob mentioned: your budget, your spending, your how much debt you have, though, whether you are investing wisely, whether you're making yourself more financially literate. Those are the things you can control. And one of the things we always talk about, what you don't change, you're choosing. So make that move to put yourself on the road to financial independence.
So Rodney Madison had put a comment in here stating that if you own a business, you must file reports under the Corporate Transparency Act, the CTA, by December 31st, 2024. Now, Rodney, I need to look into that, because I was getting these emails about people telling me, oh, you need to file, your business. And they didn't say that it's the Corporate Transparency Act. You need to check with your tax person, you all, because there's a scam going around, Rodney, by the way, with people telling people and they providing the form online, and they stealing people's information. So be careful with that. I need to look into that Corporate Transparency Act. But thanks, Rodney, for putting that in there, and we need to look into that. This is our last show for the year. You all, is that right? Yeah, for the year, right? Yeah, this is the last show because we don't do the holidays next week. By the way, I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Belize in Cozumel.
With a Z.
Thank you, the grammar police. And so you're right. And we're going to be in Christmas. We're going to be on the cruise and looking forward to it, kicking back. And so I'm going to end up with, there are many. I was reading.
But first, give our holiday with blessings and
yes, and
greetings and all that stuff.
Yes, all that good stuff, and thank everybody who's been with us this whole year once again, Dope. Now she's at the top. Now I was on the top of the thing. What's up now, Dodie? What's going on, girl? And Garnett, what's up, Nickens? And all three of my sisters on: Linda, Nolia, and Gloria Kinzer. Yes, I'm using all of y'all maidens' name. Thank you all, man. I love y'all so much. Joanne Skinner, another stalwart. Rodney L. Madison Sr. Y'all go out there on thenoteexperience.com and check out, Rodney has a investment alternative called mortgage notes, holding mortgage notes. It's another way. He has a site. Go out there and check him out and let people know about him, because that's his business. And
when are you going to let him put on the show?
Yeah, Rodney, we're going to get together. We're going to have you in the new year. Come on the show and talk about holding mortgage notes, okay? We're looking forward to that. Carl Chapman, my brother. So good to see you, my brother, and Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And no, we got Deborah on here again. Deborah is consistent. What's up, D? And thank everybody for being on. Safe travels to where if any of y'all are traveling or going back home. And I'm gonna end with the quote for the year note is the best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today. It's all about the now, you all. It's not about the past, because it's gone, it doesn't exist. And to tell the truth, it's really not even about your imagination in the future, what may happen or may not. It's not even here. The name of the game is doing your best now. So thank you all for being with us this whole 2024. Though, looking forward to 2025. Good googly moogly, man. Can you believe we're heading to 2025? And guess what, you all? We got a lot more financial information in store for you in the new year. So happy holidays to everyone. Peace and blessings.